Good afternoon, everybody. I hope you're all doing well. I hope you're having a good day. Obviously, a very, very nice warm day outside. I hope everyone's enjoying it if you can get out today. Absolutely gorgeous day here in England. Um, but unfortunately, obviously, we've got to talk about the things that are not going so well at the moment in terms of Manchester United. Um, you've probably seen if you follow me on Twitter, quite frustrated at the moment with what's going on. Granted, we're only early on in the transfer window, but if you look at the business that other teams have done, the business that other teams are getting done at the moment, compared to the lack of business that sort of we're doing, is looking a little bit worrying at this stage. But anyway, we're going to dive into sort of the transfer window, sort of talk about what is Manchester United's plan at this particular moment in time. And yeah, this is the first live stream, so please, guys, let me know how you find it. Please get in the comments. Let me know how you think it's going. I'm hoping to get some more sort of regular shows going when we get some more news about Manchester United. I've got some ideas for some analysis to do on Twitter and things like that, but at this moment in time, there just isn't that much going on, so I can't produce that much content, unfortunately. But as I said, I thought I'd come on here today, give this a go, see how people find it, and then as we obviously grow and as we get more news, I can bring in regular guests. We're going to get some guests on the channel. So we're going to get some big guests on the channel, some very, very knowledgeable people. So make sure you subscribe and don't miss that because it's going to be very, very good. So if we get into the news then, obviously at this moment in time, sort of, I think it was late evening yesterday, we had a big piece of news come out about Barcelona. Obviously, the economic levers, as they're being called, have been activated. And hello, mate. I hope you're okay. Thanks for coming along. As always, thanks for the support. I enjoy our conversations on Twitter when we have them. So thanks for coming along, mate. So obviously, the economic levers have been activated for Barcelona. That basically means that obviously they've got more money available to them. They still can sell Frenkie de Jong. It's not like it's definitely not going to happen, but they have less maybe incentive now to sell Frenkie de Jong. It's less necessary for them, probably we could say, for them to sell de Jong. So that's an interesting event that's happened. I think Barcelona have played this very, very well, personally, from their side. If you think about what they've done, Barcelona, they've set this 100 million euro price tag, and they've probably said, if you don't pay that before sort of this meeting that happened last night was obviously a big, big meeting, and they obviously I didn't know. I don't think many people knew exactly what's going to happen. Probably people closer to Barcelona would know that sort of knew that it was definitely going to be activated, this sort of economic package, but without sort of leading up to that package, sort of the vote on that package. I think Barcelona had sort of a very good plan. They were saying, well, you give us 100 million euro and we don't sell. Waited until what's happened with the with this vote. Obviously, the vote's gone in Barcelona's favour in terms of their money side of things. So now Barcelona are actually in a stronger position. So they've actually played it very well. If they would have said, if they would have sold Frenkie de Jong for 80 million euros or whatever it might be, whatever it might have been before that vote, they would have been kicking themselves if the vote would have turned out well for them. So they obviously had to play it well. They didn't want to give too much away before that vote happened because they knew they could be strengthened by that vote, which they have been. And now they're in a stronger position in terms of negotiation. So it's not looking great for us at the moment in terms of that negotiation. We still might get de Jong, but in terms of sort of, when is it going to happen? I just don't know. It's really sort of dragging out at the moment. It looks like this is Man United's main deal. This is the deal that Manchester United want to do, and this is sort of priority number one. So let's see what happens in the next few weeks. But I don't think this is going to be resolved sort of now or anytime soon. Following that vote yesterday, Barcelona are in a better position. They also want to go and sign players. Bernardo Silva and Jules Koundé they want to sign as well. So, it's for Man United's sake. I hope that Barcelona do sign some players because obviously that means they may have to sell one or two players, and they probably still would like to sell one or two players, but it's just less of a necessity than it was. So that's the Frenkie de Jong news. Still no concrete yes or no. Still looks likely, but Barcelona, in my opinion, are now in a better position in terms of negotiations, and Man United are in a worse position than we were before that vote yesterday. In terms of other news, obviously we've seen news about Timber. Looks like he's leaning towards staying at Ajax now. There seems to be a deal agreed between the two. There seems to be a deal could easily be sort of signed off between the two clubs. But it looks like Timber, ever since Louis van Gaal sort of made that comment about Timber possibly not getting a first team place at United, Timber seems to change his mind, perhaps. I don't know, but I think that's a bit of a body blow for United again. Pau Torres for me is not. I think he's a good player, but I think he's more of a club target. I think Timber was one of Ten Hag's targets, and it looks at the moment like that could be possibly sort of not going ahead because Timber doesn't want to leave Ajax. So that's another sort of problem that we've got. I don't see I think the centre back market is very, very tough at the moment in terms of if you look at the other centre backs available. You've got Jvosko Gvardiol from Leipzig, you've got Bastoni at Inter Milan. You've obviously got Pau Torres, you've got Timber, but I don't. You've obviously got the Koulibaly as well that has sort of been linked to Man United for many, many years. But for me, there aren't that many links out there at the moment. There really aren't, and the links that are out there are quite weak ones. You look at the Timber one, that's weakened. You look at Pau Torres, no real update on that. So in terms of the centre back situation, I don't think a lot will change until we've got this Frenkie de Jong deal sorted. This Frenkie de Jong deal is going to take up. This is Man United's main priority, as I already said, and I just hope we get this definite yes or no out of the way very, very soon. Preferably, it needs to be a yes, because if we don't get Frenkie de Jong, I have no clue what Manchester United are going to do next. Are we going to go for a player like Neves? We've seen links to Vitinha from Porto. We've seen other links as well to players like Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. I just don't think that's realistic. I think that's just sort of fake news sort of thing. And hello, Marcus. Hope you're all well, mates. Thanks for coming along. As always, enjoy our connections on Twitter. Keep up your good work as well, mate. Thank you very much for coming along. I think Manchester United at this moment in time, I do not see any improvement in the way we're doing things. Obviously, it's very early on. I know that deals are complicated, but Spurs have signed a backup goalkeeper. They've signed Perisic, who obviously will play, you'd expect, at left wing back for them. They've signed Bissouma as well, who will go straight into their team. So, and they might sign Spence from Nottingham Forest, who will go straight into their team at right wing back. So Spurs they've made definitely 3 signings. They might even make a 4th very, very soon. You look at Liverpool; they've strengthened they're obviously letting Mane go, but they've strengthened with Nunes. They've signed Carvalho from Fulham, and they're also going to sign, I think, Calvin Ramsey, his name is, from Aberdeen, a fullback, backup to Trent Alexander-Arnold. Then you look at Manchester City with Haaland. I think Fabrizio Romano tweet today confirmed that they're still pushing for Calvin Phillips as well as a backup for Rodri, or a Fernandinho replacement. So you look at the other teams around us. Arsenal have obviously signed, I think, Fabio Vieira. So you look at the teams around us at this moment in time, other than Chelsea, every other rival is strengthening in some way, shape or form. Manchester United are not doing that right now. And as I said, I think this seems to happen every summer. Manchester United get involved in one of these sort of deals where it sort of drags out for the whole summer and we all get fed up of it. Even if Frenkie de Jong was signed tomorrow, I think a lot of us would be a few. That's over. Goodness me, it's just, although it's only been going on for a couple of weeks, I think a lot of people are already fed up. I'm fed up of it already. I'm already fed up of the transfer window, and I think a lot of people are, in terms of what are we actually looking at here. And for me, I've always said I think Erik Ten Hag needs at least 5 signings this summer. I've seen a lot of people saying that they think we'll only get something like 3 signings. That is not going to do for Erik Ten Hag. This is going to be, if you're talking about a long-term project, which is all good and well, talking about long-term projects, but this is Manchester United. This is Manchester United. Manchester United should not just be building for the long term. Manchester United need to be doing things now, and this is the problem. And I think although we're going to give Ten Hag, hopefully he's going to get his targets, and hopefully we can see development with Ten Hag. We also need to demand things from Ten Hag and the board. Manchester United are on a 5-year trophy drought. That is just unacceptable. We can't let that go to 6, 7, 8 years. It's not good enough. So I'm hoping. I'm not that confident at this moment in time with this transfer window in terms of if you look at the players we've been linked to, not really getting linked to another midfielder as well as De Jong. I know we've seen the Vitinha links, but I don't know how reliable they really are. I also know that we've seen the Ruben Neves sort of links, but again, Ruben Neves, we've been chasing him for a number of years. It looks like he could be sort of a £70 million player. His price looks very, very big at this moment in time. So to be honest with you, I do worry for this transfer window. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. There's 4 people watching right now. Please let me know what you think in the comments. How are you finding this transfer window? Are you frustrated? What do you expect? I personally don't expect 5 or 6 signings, although that's what I think we need to do. I don't think that will happen. And there's a good comment here. Yep, that squad needs 15 players from Grow. Yep, I fully agree there. In terms of if you look at Manchester United's squad, we've obviously got Dean Henderson going probably on loan to Nottingham Forest. There's question marks around De Gea and his future, and whether I personally think, whether you agree or there's obviously different opinions with De Gea. I think Ten Hag will probably look for a new goalkeeper next year. So you're talking we probably need 2 more goalkeepers if Dean Henderson is to leave as well. You look at the fullback area. Lots of people are not keen on Telles or Shaw or Dalot or Wan-Bissaka really. And if you look at the centre halves as well, a lot of people don't like Maguire, Lindelof, Varane is very injury prone. So yeah, I mean, even 15 players, that might even be sort of minimum of what we need really, in terms of also hopefully we can see some successful youth sort of integration in the squad as well. I've always said, it's all good bringing youth players in, but they need to be at the quality and the mentality required. So there's no good bringing in youth players that are going to come in and sort of it's going to disrupt their sort of development. I think we've seen with Rashford, obviously Greenwood's a different case and we know what happened there. But I think with Rashford, he came in, he got glorified maybe to be somebody who he wasn't. And now look where he is. You look at a player like Elanga as well. He's come in and I've always said Elanga does the basics well. But I think a lot of people said he was this talent, he was that talent. And now he went on a few bad performances and now everyone's sort of slating and abusing him. So I think we've got to be careful the way we integrate these young players. And I'm just coming in the comments here from Marcus. So I'm concerned more than anything. It seems like we've put all our eggs in one basket. Yeah, it does, Marcus. And I think one sort of worrying thing with Manchester United, no doubt transfer deals are complex to do, especially in times of internationals and stuff like that. I understand that. But one issue at Manchester United, I feel, we tend to only do sort of one deal at a time, don't we? We only seem to focus on one deal at a time. And I know, as I said, I understand deals are complex. When people criticize the board and the negotiation team, some people have a go at those criticizing, thinking, well, you don't actually know how transfers work. Well, a lot of us do understand how transfers work, but we're just frustrated at how slow the process is. And another comment here from Grow. So over the next 3 summers, yeah, I do agree. 15 players. I think 5 players a summer, definitely. And then which youth prospects? Yeah, Garnacho. I watched the FA Youth Cup final. Garnacho looked very good. Fernandes was obviously the player of the season, wasn't he, for the under-23s, I think. Obviously, James Garner has had a successful loan at Forest. I personally think he could do with another loan. I think he could do with another loan. I think, especially if we sign De Jong, maybe and another midfield player, I don't think Garner's going to play too much. So I think I agree with you there. But also I think what's important, as I said before, is the way we integrate these players. I think if you look at the way that Manchester City integrated Foden's a top player, and he's, in my opinion, better than any prospect we've sort of produced recently. However, if you look at the way that Pep Guardiola sort of integrated Foden, he didn't just shove him in, put him in the deep end. you look at what he created. Obviously, you can talk about what Pep Guardiola had to spend, and he got supported massively with budget and everything. But you look at the way that Phil Foden was integrated into that Manchester City squad. Look at the foundations Pep set around him, and look at the way that Foden's developed. Same with Trent Alexander-Arnold, really. I remember when he played his first game against us, and we obviously Marcus Rashford tormented him. But you look at the way that Jurgen Klopp again integrated. You look at the way that he integrated Trent Alexander-Arnold and put the system, put the foundations in place around him to succeed. So I think that's what we've got to watch out for, and that's another reason why I think Garner maybe another loan is best. Because if you throw James Garner into a new system with Ten Hag, yes, he's going to be motivated. He's going to be willing, of course, to learn and to get used to the role. But he's going to come into a totally new system, still playing with a lot of the players that we might think are not good enough. Ten Hag might think are not good enough. And then Garner will probably look worse than he actually is, if that makes sense. So, for example, you've got to be careful. I think a lot of times people are biased towards certain players, and that always happens. But if you get a player like James Garner, you want him to come into a sort of phase of Manchester United's of Ten Hag's era where the foundations are already set, and Garner can come in and be comfortable, and that's what I think. I think that's what we need to sort of focus on in terms of integrating these youth players. Only bring them in when the other foundations are set, because if you bring them in at a time of turmoil like we're in at the moment, really, if you think about when we brought Elanga in, he's going to get a lot of stick from the fan base just because of the state we're in terms of blame. The blame game. There's a lot of people that get singled out. So I think the timing's key. Gigi, need to focus on the midfield. I certainly agree. We need 2 midfielders this summer. I mean, I said on a show the other day, over the next 3 years, I think we will need 4 or 5 midfield players. And some people, it was on a show with other fans from other clubs, and they were like, "Oh, mate, you must be mad." But I think everybody would agree in the next 3 or 4 years, McTominay probably would. McTominay and Fred, McTominay and Fred, unless they transform into some fantastic midfield player, they're probably not going to be part of the first team. You look at players like Bruno Fernandes; he's going to be 30 something in the next 3 or 4 years. So you've got to look for the long term. And I do agree, midfield in this window, but also in the coming windows, we're probably going to need to strengthen further. And yes, Charlie de Jong, I've had that a few times. Also got compared to Ed Sheeran, which I thought was not so glamorous in terms of looks, probably. But there you go. It is what it is. So I'll try and get that deal over the line. Gigi, I know you are right in terms of the working on other deals. I just think in terms of the negotiation, we do seem to. The issue we've got is this De Jong deal is the biggest deal, isn't it? It's the one with the most drama. So this is gonna. I think if and when we get De Jong over the line, I think then you will start to see other players come in. I think this is going to be the longest period without signing a player. I think if we get De Jong in, let's say at the end of June, I think within the next 3 weeks after that, you might see a signing confirmed every sort of week and a half or 2 weeks, probably. And yes, Ghana's got a lot of potential. He has. Yeah, crucial how we deal with his development. Yes. It is a tough one. It is a tough one in terms of what to do. As I said, I'm obviously not the manager. Ten Hag is, so he will decide. But what I do worry about, and people might agree with this that are watching as well, I do worry that the Glazers will try and use Ghana as a new signing. Same with Van der Beek as well. Even Martial, who has had enough chances really at this football club, like many other players have. But you look at the way these sort of James Garner, the Glazers and the ball. If he does come back and play for Ten Hag, we probably won't sign 2 midfielders on top, and that is my worry. So for me, I would rather sign the 2 midfield players and let Garner go and develop. But I do understand he is a good player. Garner is not just an academy prospect that gets overrated just because he's from the academy. There are players I think that do get a bit more support just because they're from the academy, but Garner actually is a good player. So he has got a chance, he has got potential. And yes, as Marcus says, Garner and other young players need to be in the team of leaders. Exactly. Yeah. So if you've got a player like James Garner coming into a team with the current sort of group of players that we've got, he is not going to learn as much, is he? He's not going to be as supported as he would be if he's coming into a team, as I said before, like a Liverpool or Manchester City, with a team full of leaders and sort of experience in there. So yeah, interesting comments. Anything else to talk about? You've also got Christian Eriksen, so we'll move on to that. Christian Eriksen, looks like United and Spurs are looking at Christian Eriksen. Obviously, had a really, really good season with Brentford. I think a lot of people will agree. Brentford looked in a little bit of trouble at some part in the season. When Christian Eriksen came in, Brentford seemed to go on an upturn of form, creating lots of chances, really, really good set-piece delivery, creating goals for Ivan Toney. Really, really creative player. Obviously, very, very lucky to still be here, Christian Eriksen, after the incident at the Euros. But really, I think he would be a good signing on a free. I really do. I understand people's concerns about when is he going to play, what's going to happen with Van der Beek, because we've got Bruno, Van der Beek, and Eriksen. All for me are sort of number 10s. So for me, they're all number 10s. I understand people who think Donny van der Beek can play in a pivot. He can, but that's not really his best position. So if Eriksen does come in, I understand people's concerns about we've got 3 number 10s, and I don't really who's going to play. For me, I've said this a few times. For me, I think Bruno or Eriksen could play a slightly wider role in the 4-2-3-1. So I think they could play a slightly wider role. So for me, we should definitely look at Eriksen, but he needs to be part of the 6 signings. I don't want him to be one of the main signings. He's on a free. We need to sign other players as well. Thoughts on De Gea quotes? Yeah, for me, I don't think David De Gea will be here in a couple of seasons' time. I think he's a very, very good shot stopper, but I don't think he's got the overall qualities to be a mainstay in Ten Hag's system to win titles, in my opinion. I don't think you can adapt at his age and the deficiencies he has. I don't think you can adapt that much. I don't think you can change those that much. Big up, Saeed. Thanks for coming on, mates. As always, thanks for coming on today. First live show, so hope you're enjoying it, everybody. Thanks for all the support from everyone. If we sign De Jong, what profile midfielder would he be best paired with? Any players you thought of? Yeah. So in terms of De Jong, my opinion is that in terms of what we've got at the moment, the best partnership would be Frankie De Jong and Fred. That would be the best, but it's not ideal, because De Jong is best with a slightly more defensive number 6 behind him, who's positionally aware, can receive the ball from the back 4 or the back 3 or whatever you build up with, and can cover the spaces that De Jong leaves. Not just in terms of running around. I'm not about running around and covering the spaces. I'm on about being positionally intelligent up here, with IQ, with knowledge of football, being positionally aware and knowing how to cover spaces, not just by running, but also where to be on the football pitch. And I think we need somebody like that. I think Ruben Neves is a good candidate, but the price tag is big. You've got Sangare from PSV, but if you look at the way that Ten Hag does play, if you look at the way that Ten Hag sort of does play, if you look at sort of the 18-19 season, he had Lasse Schöne and Frankie de Jong in a pivot. If you look last season, he had Edson Alvarez as well. These are not sort of midfielders that are just destroyers that go out there and make loads of tackles and interceptions. They're also players that can play with the football. So I think we need a midfielder who, I think Ruben Neves would be a good candidate. I think that would be a good candidate. It doesn't need to be an absolute destroyer or a player like Wilfred Ndidi type player. That's not suitable for Ten Hag, in my opinion. He needs a player that can also be comfortable in possession and be part of that first phase of build-up, to feed the ball to the midfield players. Manchester United will finish 10th like Ten Hag. Well, we may well do the way we're going. You may be right. And yes, we must make serious moves. Thanks for coming along from Mauritius. I hope everything's all okay over there. Imagine it's nice and warm, but we might challenge you a bit today because it's very, very warm in the UK as well. But yes, you are right. We must make some serious moves. Yes, yeah, Neves. I think Neves would be a good signing. The issue with Neves is he was available for a decent fee sort of last summer. This summer, For some reason, he's gone another year on his contract, and it looks like Barcelona, Wolves want a really, really big fee. I'm getting carried away. Barcelona, that's all that's in my head at the moment. Frankie de Jong. Wolves apparently want quite a big fee for him, so it's not looking too great, that deal at the moment. I hope the connection's all okay. I can see on the top left that the connection is slightly unstable. So just let me know if you can still hear me and everything's all right, because this is, as I said, this is my first live stream on the university Wi-Fi, so it might not be great. But normally I'm okay on live streams on other channels, but just let me know how it's going. Anything else to talk about? We talked about D. Ericsson. If you look at the fullback market, that's another market you can look at. I can't see us bringing in more than one fullback. I think we probably will bring in a single fullback, if any, really. I mean, it's really poor. For me, as I said, I've said this very many times before. Alex Telles and Aaron Wan-Bissaka, for me, should be sold. I don't think either are good enough. Diogo Dalot is the better of the two right backs we have, in my opinion, but still I've got doubts. Luke Shaw is Luke Shaw is a good football player, in my opinion, but his mentality, is it right? I'm not sure. I would replace all four fullbacks if I had the chance over the next few years, but I think Luke Shaw could be one that sort of develops under Ten Hag, so watch out for that. Okay, thanks for letting me know. I will try and work on that for the next live stream. Long-term goalkeeper, yeah, Robert Sanchez. You obviously got the dream signing. Mike Magnum from AC Milan would be my dream signing. You've also got David Raya from Brentford, who's really, really good with his feet. Really, really good long-term distribution. So I would look at those three options. Malacia, yeah, really, really good. I've watched Malacia a few times. Really, really promising. His sort of output in the final third is brilliant. So we'll definitely be looking at Malacia. Really, really good comments coming through from everybody, by the way. I'm agreeing with most of your comments. Everyone's making a lot of sense, suggesting some really, really good players. You make a good point about Daley Blind as well. And Evra, yeah, Malacia in the Europa Conference League final was excellent and should have been on the winning team, really. And obviously, Jose Mourinho secured his fifth European title on that night. And big up as well. Thanks for coming along. So, yes, as I said, first live stream, I think it's going pretty well. Please smash a like on the video if you are here. Please show your support. Please leave some feedback as well in the live comments. And if you're watching this after, not live, please do leave some comments about what you thought of the live stream. I'm going to try and get some guests along for future shows. I've got a few guests lined up that I'm going to try and get along. But yeah, I'm hoping that Manchester United are going to start sort of acting in the transfer market. I think we're all a bit frustrated at this moment in time. But let's have a look at a few more comments. City will snatch De Jong. Look, I wouldn't put it past them happening. If they let Bernardo Silva go to Barcelona, Manchester City do need a sort of a number 8. Well, obviously Bernardo Silva can play anywhere. He's that good. But Manchester City will need a number 8, really. So I wouldn't be surprised if that did happen. Annie Keys is right foot. Yeah, Malacia. I think he should be a target. You've also got players like, obviously, Lamptey. A lot of people are not so keen on now because of his injury record. You've obviously got Livramento from Southampton. I think he could be a really, really good player. And I think you've got Borna Sosa as well, another option at fullback. There's a lot of options at fullback, and there's quite a few cheaper options as well. There's one that you can get for 20-30 million, but I would go for Malacia. That would be my signing. Very progressive. He's got a lot of pace. His output's very good in the final third. He's also played in the Eredivisie before, so Ten Hag's probably got some prior knowledge on him. So I think that would be good. Anthony, I think Anthony's a tough one. I think there's not many people that can really give a definite answer on Anthony. I think a lot of people are a little bit so-so on him. I'm one of those people. I'm not so sure on Anthony. I think he's got some good attributes. One-on-one, he's very good. He's obviously Brazilian. He's got a lot of flair. Played with Ten Hag before. However, does he offer enough off the ball? I'm not so sure. That would not be my priority, Anthony. I would also not be prioritising a winger this summer. Personally, I think obviously we've got Sancho, who we're hoping will kick on. You've got Rashford, who we're hoping will come back to some sort of form. We've got Martial, the same with him. We've got Amad Diallo. I think it's going to be a big year in terms of Amad Diallo. Will he go out on loan? I think Ten Hag might personally like to keep him. And we've also got Elanga, who obviously a lot of people think he isn't good enough, but I think we've got just about enough in the wide positions. I would rather focus on the midfield areas. Ideally, I'd sign, as I said before, ideally somebody commented earlier, 15 players across the next 3 years. That's correct, really. That's what we want to be looking at. But I think we really, really do need sort of a revolution in midfield. I think that's where we should prioritise. Yes, might go on loan next season. I could never do that, but yeah, I see where you're coming from. And yeah, he has got good decision making. He can play that early cross. He's got the cutback, so you can dribble. I do like some of Anthony's attributes, but he's not one of those I'm fully sold on yet. I think I need to watch more of him and see how he'll develop in the next year or so. But he is definitely an option. I'm not saying we shouldn't sign him. He's definitely an option. Ten Hag might fancy him. He's worked with him before. I call this adaptation phase. I call it sort of when a player comes to a new league, comes into a new system. That is always a problem. But obviously, if Ten Hag can bring one or two that he's played with before, that sort of adaptation phase will sort of be easier, won't it? You know, he'll play with players he knows he can trust. Then he can focus then on the players that he hasn't worked with before and try and develop those. So it is good if we can bring in one or two, Frankie de Jong and Timber, or Frankie de Jong and Anthony. That would be good. I'm just saying I need to one of those players that is top of my list for this summer. That's what I would say. But he has got some very good attributes. Timber news. Well, Louis van Gaal has made a few comments in the media about Timber, suggesting that he should stay at Ajax. It looks like Timber might want to stay at Ajax, so I don't know whether it was a direct result of that. But there's still a possible agreement between the two clubs. But the player himself, I believe, may want to stay at Ajax now. So that's the latest on the Timber news. I did actually have some sort of analysis sort of ready to post on Timber, which is a shame because if he doesn't come, then I can't really post that analysis. So I'm not just hoping because of my analysis, but I'm also hoping because he's a very good player at Timber. I would like him to come. I think he'd be a very good signing. Obviously, he's worked with Ten Hag before, very progressive. His height is an issue, but I think if you're smart enough in football, physicality and height are not so important. If you look at a player like Lionel Messi, for example, he's that good. I know I'm not comparing Timber and Messi in terms of their technical attributes, but you look at a player like Bernardo Silva as well. These players are that good. It doesn't matter if they're a little bit shorter. They're that clever with their positioning, with their manipulation of the game, with their scanning, with their in and out of possession, the attributes they've got. It doesn't matter. They're just that clever. If they're a little bit shorter, it doesn't matter. And if you remember William Gallas, the Chelsea defender, I think he was only about 5'11" or something like that, maybe even 5'10". William Gallas. He wasn't a tall player, but he was a very, very good defender. So I don't think it's all about height. I think Timber will be a good signing. Yes, centre-back market, as I said earlier, it's a little bit tough. Koulibaly and Skriniar, as you rightly say, two very, very good players, but the age and the price, I understand that. You've got Bastoni at Inter, he'd be very expensive. Gvardiol at Leipzig, obviously both of these players, Bastoni and Gvardiol, play on the left of a back three, so that's your only slight concern. Will they adapt to the new system? I think they're good enough. I do think they're good enough, but I just don't see Man United doing those deals this summer. So centre-back is tough. The way it's going at the moment, I just don't know what's going to happen. Pau Torres, for me, is not the signing. I just don't think he complements what we've got at the moment. I think we need a slightly more aggressive, speedy centre back who is more aggressive out of possession and can help us when we want to play with a high line. We want to play sort of pressing the opposition, and I don't think a player like Pau Torres will suit that style. Striker options, Nkunku would be brilliant, but he's again 100 million. They put a price tag on him. I think he's brilliant. Nkunku, that was one of my players I've sort of watched a lot in the last few months. and I said we should be going for, but that looks unlikely. You've got Schumacher, who plays, I think it's Juan-Luca Schumacher or something like that. He plays for Sassuolo. He's a very, very good player, very good link-up play, very good overall sort of all-round striker. Other striker options long term. Ooh, you've got Jonathan David as well, who plays in, I think, in Liga. He's impressed me when I've watched him a few times. But to be honest with you, I think in terms of the striker options, you've got to look at the way that Ten Hag sort of developed Tadic and Haller. You look at the way that Ten Hag used Tadic as a false nine, used Haller as a centre forward. Ten Hag's got this tactical flexibility. He's taken players like Tadic and Haller that weren't really fancied by many people. Obviously, Tadic has always been renowned as a decent player, same with Haller. But actually, these footballers have been rejuvenated under Ten Hag. So I think when Ten Hag looks at the striker market, whether it be this summer or next summer, he may sign somebody we haven't really maybe watched many times, or maybe he's not in the sort of in the running, not very popular amongst many people, because Ten Hag does see that value in players that are not favoured elsewhere. So just watch out for that. Yeah, and as I said, the height of Timber will from time to time, of course, hinder him. Like every player has that attribute or that quality that hinders them. But I think if you partner him with Diogo Dalot at right back, for example, who ranks very highly for winning his aerial duels. The same with Maguire, and Varane's done very well in terms of overall duels this season. Timber will get a little bit more protection. So I think if he did come, I think Ten Hag has got the players, the defenders around him to protect him, who win more aerial duels, and I don't think he'd suffer too much. If you go back and watch the way that Timber played against Dortmund, against Haaland, and against Bellingham, winning duels, very aggressive, he makes up for his lack of height through his more aggressive defending. So it can be a problem. I'm not going to deny that, but I don't think it's as much of a problem as some people make out. Cristian Romero, top player, really, really good. Fantastic signing. And yeah, that is the thing. Do we go for a more killing edge striker that doesn't have fantastic sort of his overall game isn't great, or do we go for that player that striker that's better in his overall game and hasn't got such a killing edge about him? Personally, I would always rather have the more well-rounded player. That's just my personal opinion. Obviously, Ronaldo is sort of an anomaly. I think Ronaldo will actually do very, very well under Ten Hag in terms of his killing edge. Excuse me, I've got a bit of hay fever today. It's affecting me in many, many different ways. In terms of Ronaldo, I think he will score lots of goals. I think Ronaldo is that sort of world-class poacher now. He's not that sort of world-class overall player. But I think Ten Hag will look for a player that can be very, very flexible in terms of his striker. So in terms of an option for a striker, whether it be this summer or next summer. I think if you look at the way that Dusan Tadic plays, obviously he can play in multiple positions. I think fluidity is the key word when it comes to Ten Hag. So we'll see, Gigi. I understand what you're saying about Schumacher in terms of his killing edge. I understand that. It's just, let's see what Ten Hag comes up with. We've already got players like Rashford and Bruno who are very sort of explosive and do things very, very quickly. Ten Hag may favour that player for the long term that is a little bit more sort of well-rounded, keeps hold of possession better. Anthony Martial, I think, would be a great option when he was doing really, really well for Ollie at centre forward position. I think Anthony Martial would be fantastic for Ten Hag. But I think we all know with Martial, mentality issues, consistency issues. What are we going to get from him? Yeah, good comment here about Varane injuries. Varane looks like if you look at last season, if you look what he produced for us, when he was fit, he was okay, Varane. It's just getting fit. I think, was he a good signing? Well, you can't really say he has been so far, can you? Will he get used to the Premier League more? Hopefully he will. But I think if Real Madrid are letting a player go for that sort of price, you know there's a problem. So I am a bit worried about Varane, to be honest with you. I think you are right there. And you're right, Gigi. Yeah, Ronaldo, link-up play actually improved as the season went on, if you remember. His link-up play got better as the season went on. He was actually really good, particularly in that game away at Arsenal and at home to Brentford. He was excellent in both of those games. his better overall games for us were as the season went on, which was actually quite interesting. So yeah, Ronaldo, I think Ronaldo has still got something left in him. He's not a dreadful player in terms of his overall game, but obviously at 36 years old, your overall game is not going to be as good as it once was. So I think Ronaldo is a world-class poacher, but he's not a world-class player anymore in terms of his overall game. I think we can all accept that. In terms of what we're going to do when pressing, people have talked about Ronaldo doesn't press. Ronaldo can still be part of a pressing system. You don't have to have everybody running at 100 miles an hour when you're pressing against the ball if you're counter pressing. You can have Ronaldo in a situation where maybe he can shut a passing lane down by just standing still or dropping a few yards or going ahead a few yards. You don't always have to have everyone running at 100 miles an hour. That can actually be sort of damaging to the team. I think a lot of people have blamed Bruno Fernandes in the past for that, chasing sort of lost shadows on his own as a pressing system. You're better off sometimes either sitting back as a team, or if you've got a player that doesn't press, just try and cut off a few passing lanes. Try and stop that pass from the first to the second phase of the build-up play. So I think it's not all about. I don't think it's a huge issue, Ronaldo and pressing. I think a lot of people say, "Oh, Ronaldo doesn't press," blah blah blah. I think it's not as big of an issue as a lot of people think. And you are right there. Yet Varane was the second in terms of overall duels this season in the league. I did see that. He's been pretty good when he's played. It's just he hasn't. He just hasn't played all that often, as often as we'd like. And that, I was going to bring that up. That's a very, very good point about Haller. As I said before, it's not a huge issue with Ronaldo. Who would be a better fit for United, Rice or Bellingham? Both very, very good players, different players. Obviously, Rice has transformed a little bit actually in the last year. He's gone from this more of a number 6 screen the back 4 player to actually a player who you can drive through midfield, who can contribute attacking. I think Rice can play as a number 6 or a number 8. I think Bellingham is more a number 8. So it would depend. It would be dependent on who's here. I'd have to say that I can't really comment too much. I need to know what other players are we going to sign this summer, and then see where we'd fit. For me, I think Declan Rice is very good, but I think he'd be too I know sort of 120 million pound. I think West Ham have put a price tag on him for. I mean, that is it's crazy money. I think Bellingham would be close to 80, 100 as well. So for the price, I'd probably take Bellingham. I'd like to have them both personally. I think they're very, very good, but I know we won't sign both. So I would take Bellingham, just because I think he's perhaps a little bit more well-rounded maybe as a footballer. But I understand Declan Rice is very, very good. And I understand Declan Rice would work very, very well in a more progressive system because he has improved his progressive attributes. But for me, I think Bellingham is going to be an absolute star one day. They're both very, very good players. I would personally go for Bellingham because I think he could suit Ten Hag's system better than Rice. But yes, they're both very, very good players. Okay, any other questions? Get in the comments. As I say, we might go for a few more minutes, and then I'm probably going to sort of call it an afternoon. Get out. I think it's just after 3 o'clock. It's very, very nice weather outside, so I might go and enjoy a bit of the sunshine outside. But if anyone's got any more questions, drop them in the chat. Please like the video. Please subscribe if you're new as well. I'm going to be trying to do more of these sort of live streams. I'm going to try and get some guests on as well, so it should be quite exciting. So Rice would be good if he doesn't have to be the one. Yeah, I think with Rice, he has improved that element though. I think still he's got a way to go, but I think he has improved on the ball, progressive carrying, especially through the midfield into the attacking third. He has got better at that. But I do agree. I think Rice. I just think Rice is he's a good player, but 120 million is just madness. It's madness the way that money talks sort of nowadays, isn't it? But yeah, he is a good player. So as I said, please subscribe if you are new. I'm going to try and do more of these live streams in the future, get some guests on. As more news comes out about Manchester United's transfer window, I will get more videos out. So please stay tuned for that. And as I said, if you're not following me on Twitter already, follow me at Threadman Chazza, so you can see my username there, just down there, or the other side there. So Threadman Chazza there. If you want to follow me on Twitter, and as I said before, I really, really appreciate all the support. Thanks for coming along today. Thanks for watching. I hope you all have a good day, and I'll see you later. Cheers.